Last time I attempted to address the question of why do so many people hate the Jews so much? And obviously it's a tricky question, and my attempts barely scratched the surface. And one of the critiques of that video in the comment section was that I didn't differentiate between the Jews and Israel. I think I tried to do that, but obviously the Jewish people and the country of Israel are not entirely synonymous. There are many Jews living in other parts of the world, in other countries, and that was the case before 1948, when Israel officially became a country. Again, in the past, going back to biblical times, there was, of course, Israel and Judea. In that area and the borders between these countries, you know, like with Jordan and Syria and Lebanon, those have changed over history. And there have been bitter disputes among the people in those areas. But the main thing that I think is worth noticing is that among the Islamic world, there are many who want to annihilate and eradicate Israel and the Jewish people. And of course, let's not forget what Adolf Hitler and the Nazis attempted to do in the 1940s. The Holocaust and the extermination camps and gas chambers must be one of the most evil things that people have done, and that is in comparatively recent history. There are still people alive today who were young or children at that time, 80 plus years ago. And looking back on history, it's important to understand what happened, and those who are ignorant of history are more likely to repeat it. And so any persecution of people, a people, which seems to be prevalent and if anything, increasing. I mean, it seems to me like there's been an underlying resentment of the Jewish people for a very, very long time. And it has become possible for more people to be open about that. It's complicated because there is, political Israel, Netanyahu and the current war with Iran, the war with Hamas and Palestine, which I don't really get why a lot of people say, oh yes, Israel is committing a genocide on the Palestinians. Yes, they are bombing the shit out of that area and have been doing for a very long time. If you look on Google Earth and zoom in and look at Palestine, around the border, the buildings are just destroyed. However, what Hamas did on October the 7th, deliberately targeting civilians at a concert, I don't think is comparable to the retaliation. I'm not saying the retaliation is entirely justified. I don't know enough about the details to really comment intelligently on that, but the money that was given to Hamas, or the Hamas appropriated, however you want to look at it, was used to construct, a vast underground network of tunnels, often strategically placed in, like, underneath or in close proximity to schools and hospitals. And in a battle situation, there's always going to be collateral damage, and it seems as if the Palestinian side of the equation, the Hamas, have been taking advantage of that, knowing that in a battle situation, if there are a lot of civilians killed, rather than purely military targets, that is going to upset many people within the general population. Of course, historically, it has been more likely that in a battle situation, one side would want to completely annihilate the other side and not care about the civilians, the women and children. But in our modern enlightened times, if you want to look at it like that, with the Geneva Convention and similar things, quite often when conversation fails and conflict takes over, the tactics used by each side are not the same. So I acknowledge that there may well be elements within Israel and the Jewish people that are hostile, that are subversive, that have infiltrated other governments and even Hollywood filmmaking. Actually, the first time I noticed that was going to the cinema in the late 90s and watching Independence Day. One of these huge blockbusters with lots of explosions and an alien mothership, if I remember right, like hovering over a big city, and there was a Jewish element in that, and it was just like the religion of the protagonists in the film. And I don't think that's a big deal, one way or another. There are other films where there's the protagonists are overtly Christian. So I still don't think it's a big deal, but I did notice that at the time. And whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't really have an opinion on that. I think it's pretty neutral. It's just people. People are religious. Some people are more so. Some gravitate towards one religion rather than another one. But that's life. And the world of the movies can reflect that. But in recent times, with all these pro-Palestine protests, which seem to be mostly from obviously from the Islamic side and the political left-leaning element, they accuse anyone who is patriotic of this country as, oh, you're just a Zionist, as if Zionist is it seems just like another insult thrown in the hope that it sticks. But that is just obviously another element within Judaism, and I would say is pretty much irrelevant. Personally speaking, I think that each country has a right to be its own country and should defend its borders. I think that the Green Party and the far left, open border policy is absolute insanity. And, obviously so, if they had their way, and if they opened the borders, if they, disband the army and the police and all of these things that they want to do, it's pretty obvious that other people will come in and say, what are these lunatics doing? Okay, that's fine, we'll take over. There's not going to be any resistance. And that seems to be the most surefire way of turning this country into an Islamic state, another Egypt or another Syria, another Lebanon. So it's almost impossible to talk about the Middle East situation and just focus on Israel and Judaism and Zionism, and not notice the massive conflict between Islam and Judaism, and the hostile elements within those particular religions. Anyway, I'm sure I have only scratched the surface a little bit more, and there's plenty more to say, so please tell me what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching.